And he's gone. Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
Hello, hello. Jacob Gulliver is here as well. Did we lose
And
Blue Dragon?
yes, we did. Yes, we
Oh,
did right
no.
off the bat. And he's supposed to be like the big wrestling announcer.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so well timed, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, and welcome, folks. Welcome to a special Infinity War edition of Disney Debates. Now, BlueDragonFive is going to be hosting Jacob Gulliver and I on 3 specific rounds of Infinity War related questions. I mean, it's kind of broad spectrum Marvel with one very important Infinity War question. So the
I'm
questions
having a
tonight
tough time hearing you. Are you,
Oh, really?
is something wrong with your mic? Yeah,
Okay. Hold on. Can you hear me? Can you hear me at all?
it's like very fuzzy, but I can make out what you're saying.
Okay. Give a pitch for your projects.
Sure. So, I am part of a company called Hot Chocolate Media, and our whole thing is that we do all kinds of fun, geeky content that you can access through the web whenever you're interested in doing. And we've done several projects. We have a weekly podcast called The Movie Machine, where we make up a movie really fast based on a random suggestion from the internet. We did a show a couple of years ago that actually how I met Tiki and Dragon here, which is called Super Academy. It's kind of like Harry Potter meets the Avengers, about a group of kids trying to go to school to learn how to become superheroes. And then we also did a web series a few years back called Fang and Talon, which is a sword and sorcery, action comedy adventure, which you can access through our website as with the other projects. That's hotchocolatemedia.net. All of our stuff is available there, and the podcast you can find through iTunes.
Wonderful. Sorry about the little technical glitch, folks. We're just all very excited about the big milestone in the MCU. So let me kind of reintroduce us here. Now we have a wonderful sponsor, kind of a sponsored plug out of the way. Sponsor in the sense of we're really big fans, without any monetary compensation of any sort. Just want to make that clear for the lawyers out there. Anyway, so we'll do over here. Okay. Face front armchair Imagineers. BlueDragonFive here with another merry installment of Disney Debates Marvel Edition. That's right, soldiers. We're training for the Infinity War. Why? Well, because that's how Dad did it. It's how America does it, and it's worked out pretty well so far. Tonight's marvelous mission includes the following topics. Which non-Fox Marvel character should get a movie next? Which Marvel marquee Avenger will die in Infinity War? And best Marvel Nextflix villain. All right. Time to suit up and assemble in the arena for our true contest of champions. In this corner, a contender with so much love for Rocket Raccoon, it'll bring a tear to your eye. Cue the Walkman music and break out the pie. It's Tiki!
I hope they remember you. All right, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, much better.
Good.
And in this other corner, the opposite corner, if you will, an educator of superheroes with a PhD in all things strange. Put your scarred hands together for Mr. Jacob Gulliver!
Oh, I'm clapping, but it hurts.
Yes. I did bring a strange with me for good luck, so if you can see him there.
Excellent. So, boys, how are we doing tonight?
I mean, 24 hours from now, it's going to be 45 minutes until Infinity War for me, so I'm pretty stoked.
24 hours from now, it will be 45 minutes into Infinity War for me. So
nice.
I guess I'm just slightly more stoked. Not to take away from you, Tiki.
All right.
Okay, let's go over the ground rules for this marvelous edition of Disney Debates, of course. Very simple, just a little refresher, because it's been a while since Jacob Gulliver has graced our fine show here. All right. We got 3 rounds, which means 3 questions. At the end of 3 rounds, we'll go with our new and kind of favorite feature of Disney Debates, the coin. Coin essentially means if both of our competitors will be allowed the opportunity to use the coin should they choose. Lands heads up, you get a point. lands tails, you lose a point. So there's a risk with the dreaded or beloved coin. For the purposes of here, let's call it the Excelsior coin, or the coin of Excelsior. Give kind of a Doctor Strange vibe. I don't know. Pop a little more, branding. Anyway, so we will reveal. We're going to use the same kind of format we usually go with here. So our competitors will reveal their pick. They will give an opening statement, and essentially in the opening statement, boys, I want to hear you guys state the case. Basically, state a case for it. Say all the glowing things, all the nice things, all the cool things, and why you picked it. Then you fight it out. When I've heard enough, my little teeny tiny co-host here, R2D2, he is the bell. When he speaks, I've heard enough. Then we move on to, again, after the coin, move on to the speed round. Very simply, 30-second, 15-second. We'll refresh everybody on that a little later after the initial 3 rounds. You guys understand the rules as I have explained them to you here this fine evening.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds good.
Verbal confirmation, the best confirmation there is. All right. All right, Soldiers of Fortune. Let's see. Let's get to the randomizer. Of course, just like Vegas, like the house. We got a complete random order. You shuffle it a couple times. In this case, we have an alphabetical order, so it's close enough. Get the randomizer. We'll find out what the established order is this evening. Okay.
The randomizer hates people named Jacob, apparently.
Seriously, Jacob, you're not going to believe this. Ever since we used the randomizer, our other Jacob Weil, I believe you've combated against once.
Yes.
He has the worst luck in that he keeps coming in first he keeps having to go first with the randomizer. Even there was even this one time where he wasn't even there and his name showed up. No, I'm kidding. But can you imagine? We always joke that's going to happen, and technically it did happen here. So.
Right.
All right. Okay, let's get to it.
All right. It's main event time. All right, round 1. Which non-Fox Marvel character should get a movie next? Or to make it sound a little nicer, which Marvel character should get a movie next? But I just wanted to specify. So again, here's the qualifiers, folks, just in case anyone's out there wondering, why non-Fox? Why so specific? So, you see, folks, it's the ink's not dry on the big Marvel Fox deal, the big Disney Fox deal. The ink's not dry yet, so we're kind of taking Fox off the table. So no, I know we're so close to like an age of miracles with all that, but no X-Men, no Fantastic Four. So those guys are off the table. So we're primarily sticking with kind of what we started with in the MCU when we're kind of reaching for like the Guardians of the Galaxy, if you will, kind of the characters all across the deep cut Marvel side of things. And very simply, I just want to hear who you guys think should get a movie. Basically, who next? In like Phase 4 or beyond. Phase 4 or beyond. Who should get a movie next? Not a sequel, not a Netflix series, but a full-fledged a movie. That's what I'm looking for here. So let's reveal who has what. So, Jacob, what do you got?
My choice is Moon Knight.
Knight.
Detective Mercedes Knight.
Detective Mercedes Knight.
Right.
I'm sorry, it's a little Luke Cage joke there. Okay. Tiki, what do you got?
My choice is Blade, and Dragon, I've got a whole slew of casting and directing choices. I'm ready to go with this.
Okay, the boys are ready tonight. So again, we're going to go to Jacob. Jacob, you hit us with your opening statement. Dazzle us.
Moon Knight is Marvel's answer to Batman, and in a lot of ways, they do Batman better than Batman.
Okay.
Wow, short and sweet. Okay.
It's a man of confidence right there. I trust that.
Yeah. I assume you're wanting just one sentence.
Well, no, you can do more than one. Let me make,
okay.
You can do more than one sentence if you'd like.
Sure. If you've ever wondered what would happen if Batman actually killed the Joker, that might be a good reason to get interested in Moon Knight. If you might wonder what exploring Batman's psyche through the eyes of his long-term comrades might look like, that would be a good way to get interested in Moon Knight if you don't know who he is. If you've ever wondered what what Iron Man would be like if he wasn't such a cocky asshole all the time. That might be a good reason to get into Moon Knight. There's a lot of things that overlap with different characters as different heroes do. But I think Moon Knight, and especially the incarnation that you've very auspiciously chosen the image from, the Charlie Houston and David Finch incarnation from the mid-2000s, is one of the best that's out there and would make a tremendous Marvel film or Netflix series. I'd be fine with either.
All right. Again, just to specify for Jacob, again, just looking at movie. I know you covered both there. I just want to, again, just looking for movie for this.
That's
just
fine.
For the folks out there, too, just want to clarify again.
Yeah.
Also, a little fun fact, I've met Dave Finch. Nice guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I've met him a couple times. I got him some of my Batman comics. All right, Tiki, whenever you're ready. Lead.
Okay, so the MCU has succeeded on doing a formula, but doing it within different genres. And we've seen that with the spy thriller. We've seen it with a war movie. We've seen it with kind of like the fantasy epic that we got with Black Panther. It's like a whole slew of genres. Doctor Strange is the closest we've come to horror, but that was more kind of like a weird, trippy kind of like sci-fi magic sort of take. It was done by a horror director. Blade, what I want to do with Blade is I want to cross that bridge into a full-on MCU horror franchise, and I think Blade is absolutely the character to do it with. My Blade of choice is a casting that people have really wanted to see in the MCU for a while, and we're pretty close to having him come on. I'm going to have Blade be John Boyega, and John Boyega is not going to be the badass, confident Blade. John Boyega is going to be more like, this is going to be more of a Blade at the start of his vampire hunting. It's going to be a little bit more of a Blade that's unsure of himself. The reason why I'm doing that is to kind of differentiate it from the Wesley Snipes character, but still kind of play homage. And importantly with this directing piece, and then I'll go on to different details about my pitch later, but the director of this piece is none other than Mr. Jordan Peele. And Jordan Peele, of course, the director of Get Out. He's kind of made a living kind of cutting his teeth in sketch comedy that ultimately led to Get Out being a Best Picture nominee. I feel like Jordan Peele is the perfect person to kind of elevate the material of Blade, the kind of social commentary that Blade comes with, the kind of half vampire, half human, the vampire hunter, kind of going after his own kind. That's exactly the sort of social commentary that Jordan Peele would be going for. So, Jacob, I'm just going to admit right now, I know nothing about Moon Knight, so this is going to be a battle of like, I have like all the details laid out for my pitch. I'm ready to go. I think Jordan Peele making a Blade movie would be amazing. I think John Boyega would make an excellent younger Blade who would differentiate himself from Wesley Snipes. Let's do this.
Interesting pairing, by the way. Someone who's never been on screen and someone who would be making his grand entrance in the MCU. So again, it's kind of even in different ways. This little tussle here. So, okay, guys, fight it out.
Is that our invitation to start putting things together here?
What?
Dragon gave kind of an intro, but I didn't catch all of it. What was the
starting? Just fight each other. Yeah,
sure. So, I mean, what I really want to do in the sense of exploring a Moon Knight movie is that I think if you look at a lot of the other MCU movies, they have I kind of want to bring like the feel that we get in some of the Marvel Netflix series to like the big screen, be able to take that into a larger budget and get the sense of this one specific area is really key to this character, but be able to go back and see the origins of Moon Knight, his mercenary days, and falling into the temple where he sees the statue of Khonshu and becomes the Moon Knight, the avatar of Khonshu. And the aspect that's addressed in the comic series that I mentioned, which I absolutely love, is the idea that he may have hallucinated or this may just be trauma that did this to him. Khonshu may not necessarily be real. It may just be an aspect of his subconscious, or a split personality that tells him what to do sometimes. I think that would be fascinating to explore in a film like this, and to have, a character with that level of, mental illness on screen, I think would be very valuable as a social, examination. I think that could be something where Marvel could be, have the opportunity to break another boundary in a lot of ways. The cast of characters that surround Moon Knight are fantastic. Frenchie, his former mercenary friend, is wonderful. Raoul, aka Bushman, is this just absolutely dark and twisted guy, and being able to see his journey from the early days to the eventual psychopath would be fascinating. And there's really a lot of ground to explore, in addition to having the superheroic moments. I would also do the Profile as the primary villain. If you're not familiar with the Profile, his ability is that he can stare at you and he knows all your little tics, all your little quirks, all the little odd things about you that make you who you are. So he's not gifted in the sense of he can't shoot you with lasers or something like that, like other Marvel heroes can, but to be able to have this sort of this character who has this ability go up against a physical hero, and have a villain who's the smart villain rather than the villain who's the strong villain, would be really, really great in the MCU. I would take a fairly dark tone with elements of kind of like wry humor. I definitely want it to be a little on the gorier side than most Marvel movies would be, but still try and stick to that PG-13, because they want to sell the tickets. So, but I think we should push boundaries in more way than one there.
Okay, you see, Jacob, that's all fine and good, but I've got 4 words for you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but 5 words. I'm bad at counting. We've got to have money. Jacob, I just think Blade, frankly, is a much more marketable character. I feel like everything you laid out with Moon Knight is fascinating. However, I feel like it skates the line between it would fit perfectly on Netflix. It would be a perfect, kind of like in the style of something like The Punisher. And honestly, what you're saying with all the side characters and everything, I feel like that's kind of where it would shine. With Blade, you already have a built-in franchise. You already have a known character, but you're seeing, much like the MCU is known to do with characters like Spider-Man, you're seeing a younger interpretation of the character in the broader spectrum of the world. And the thing that makes Blade such an appealing character to me, it was between Blade and Ghost Rider, both characters with established franchises, both characters that can go in a horror direction with it. But beyond the kind of light bulb moment of Jordan Peele doing Blade, yes, it's perfect. I really think that Blade just crosses paths with so many different ideas in the MCU that are already established. Doctor Strange would be a perfect element to incorporate into a Blade movie, with Doctor Strange being kind of like the expert on the supernatural. I feel like with us being on the crest of the Fox deal going through, I feel like Blade and the X-Men, like that would kind of be an interesting thing to explore. I feel like while a standalone Blade movie would definitely be great in its own right, by the way, Clancy Brown is Whistler.
It's not a bad guess.
Small problem with that, but he was another. Or he was in Daredevil season 2. Oh, and
in Thor Ragnarok.
You're right about that. That was a voice though, and Clancy Brown, a very talented voice actor. I'm saying he physically played a big bad guy for the Punisher.
Okay, well, I refer you to Alfred Woodard.
True.
All right, it's a fair point, but still, that was like a major character for the Punisher, though. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyways, yeah, you're right. He was kind of I have my issues with the Punisher series, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, I just feel like Blade would be a far easier movie to do with the MCU kind of PG-13. It would be something that would attract, parents who grew up in the 90s and kind of grew up maybe seeing Blade as their first R-rated movie. Kind of this would be like a great kind of transitional horror piece where Jordan Peele is already kind of an expert at Get Out being a movie that, of course, Get Out is R-rated because it has a very kind of social political vibe to it. But what Jordan Peele really does is he gets a vibe down. He gets a tone down where it's suspenseful, but it's not something that's going to make a non-horror movie fan like BlueDragonFive kind of jump out of his seat and want to turn the movie off. Like Jordan Peele really drives his directing. He really drives, he's a great visual filmmaker, and I feel like a Blade movie would be right up his alley. And I feel like Jordan Peele as a director would fit right into the MCU.
I think to kind of respond to that, I agree that the things that are popular right now that you're putting in are your cast and your director. I would disagree with the idea that the content that you're putting out there is very popular right now. We had a huge inrush of vampire movies in the 2000s. Let the Right One In, Daybreakers, 30 Days of Night, Twilight, God forbid. Vampire movies have had a huge rush, and I'm just not all that excited to see a vampire movie, if I'm honest. It'd be interesting to see what, a director like Jordan Peele or an actor like John Boyega could do with a role like that. I agree wholeheartedly, but I disagree with the idea that what you're looking at is popular. And I think that, the way the MCU has progressed in phase 3, moving away from phase 2, was that they took risks, and risks paid off in a huge way in phase 3. So we got some truly amazing moments in Black Panther, in Thor Ragnarok, and Doctor Strange. Marvel needs to do that again if they want to keep, their movies interesting, keep their movies moving forward. And I think having, a really rough around the edges character in the vein of Moon Knight would be a really strong choice for that.
You see, I just feel like with the MCU, it's such a fine balancing act, and the reason why it's kind of like an argument, like an interesting argument to be made here, where the reason why the MCU works as well as it does is, in spite of hopping genres so frequently, it keeps to the same tone. And honestly, Jacob, as someone who does look, I don't mean to say this to cut you down, but as someone who does kind of suffer from mental illness myself, I would personally much rather see that represented in a show where you would have a lot more time to develop something like that, rather than risk a plot point like that not being explored or being misrepresented, which I feel like comes at a bigger risk if you're just doing a 2-hour movie. Even if the intentions are good, Jacob, I feel like a 12-hour Netflix series, I have much more confidence that, boom, you're going to crack out that mental illness storyline. It's going to be great. It's going to be very representative. And while I don't necessarily think it's impossible to do that in 2 hours, I definitely think it's more of a challenge, especially, and here's the tricky part. Here's the part that I kind of question, especially when you do have to keep that tone. You do have to keep some level of, Thor Ragnarok, you cite Thor Ragnarok, but really what Thor Ragnarok was, hey, you like Guardians? Let's have more Guardians. Don't get me wrong, it worked out super well, but the tone of that movie, it's the most lighthearted. Like I feel like the MCU, that's kind of my argument. It's going in a more kind of like, we got Thor, we got Homecoming. Movies like Black Panther and Infinity War are going to kind of offset that. But I'm not sure if we're kind of at that point where we're going to like kind of have this dark and gritty is a very dangerous road to go down. And I don't feel like Blade is dark and gritty. I feel like Blade can be a fun character with some social political commentary in there, which Jordan Peele excels at.
Okay. I think your concerns about, mental health are very, very valid. And that's a fair point. You should be taken into consideration in a very real and dedicated way. I think the sort of picture that I would paint were I to work on something like this would be, here's a group of people who all have PTSD, and it all affects them differently. So we can see some of those elements, which are just so very briefly touched on in some of the Captain America movies. But here, it's affected three people in three very different ways. We have Frenchie, who's just kind of rough around the edges and does what he needed. We have Moon Knight, who has turned it into this sort of twisted crusade, and then we have Bushman, who's become a complete psychopath. And I think that would be a really interesting way to explore how that affects people. And I think that there is enough time to address that in a 2-hour movie. Granted, of course, any amount of time would be better. Thor Ragnarok would have been great as a 12-hour miniseries where we got to see more of all the individual interactions. That would have been fun because we would have gotten to.
Honestly, I don't know about that because Thor Ragnarok, the humor in Thor Ragnarok is kind of like exhausting as it is at like 2 hours and 15 minutes. I don't know if I need a 6-hour cut of Ragnarok.
Well, to have the ability to slow down would be nice. So you're commenting about how like fast paced it is and how exhausting. Like, wouldn't it be great if it wasn't so fast paced and exhausting and you could stop and enjoy each moment a little longer?
Like
that
if
would be
he
nice.
was an actual character and not just like, hey, look, they name drop something, and he's in the background walking around. There he is.
Oh, man.
Oh. Okay.
Sorry, guys. I could have listened to you talk about this one forever. I really could have, because you guys are making some excellent points. And honestly, I want to see both of these movies, if I'm being frank. Anyway, here's one coming down.
Frank Castle?
Let's be frank.
I mean, let's not. He's pretty twisted, but
No, it's like a cosplay adventure. Like that should be the name of our like cosplay documentary. Like we all go to Comic-Con dressed as Frank Castle.
One could be Franken Castle. One could be like the angel will come back from the grave, Frank Castle. With like the little with the fire demon thing they did.
Oh God.
Let's see. Okay, no. All right. All seriously, it's kind of funny though that both Frank Castle and Doctor Strange have the same taste in music. Though it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I just read a Doctor Strange Punisher book a little while ago. I think it's called Magic Bullets.
Real? Oh my God, Magic Bullets? That's what it's called?
Let me look it up. I'm sure it's on my shelf, but I don't want to get up and go and get it because it'll take forever.
That's awesome if it's called Magic Bullets.
The story wasn't amazing, but there were some cool art moments in there.
Yeah.
Let's see, Doctor Strange and Punisher, Magic Bullets. Yep.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
All right. Let me see. What was I? All right. Okay. Here's one coming out on the Judgment, guys. Okay. I won't try.
I missed the Judgment because
I haven't said it yet.
Oh, okay.
You see it?
Yeah. That's cool. All right. Anyway, okay. Here's what I'm coming down on, guys. I think in the end, I think Tiki. Well, I think Tiki had the upper hand in this a lot. I think he really did. I mean, again, you guys are very on even. You guys are on even footing for a whole lot of this, and I think you both had really well thought out pitches. I think Jacob was really coming from the perspective of kind of selling you on the character. I think Tiki was selling you on the movie. So again, both what I was kind of looking for, like what should be the next one, like who should be the character selected, which would make logical sense as a movie next. So, I mean, you both hit me in the right spots. Yeah.
As an afterthought, my only concern would be, and Tiki should still win, that's fine. But my only concern would be that you're riding too much on your actor and your director rather than focusing on what that character is doing or, what that character is going to, how they're going to impact the MCU.
Well, here's what I'm coming down. I think, again, Tiki made some good... had some good barbs against Moon Knight. With it does feel like it would be served best in a Netflix show, but at the same time, I think we kind of clinched it for me, guys. And again, I want to show you it was very, very even, this whole thing. All right, but I'm siding with. I'm going to give the point to Gulliver because I think Tiki kind of defeated himself in the end with the point. Basically, at the end, I feel was Tiki was pointing out, kind of formula, the Marvel formula, and I think if you look at his argument, you'd find that a lot of his points were kind of what was kind of. I'm just trying to nail down exactly what Tiki said at the end there. Basically saying, Well, he had like Doctor Strange crossovers and all the potential of kind of crossovers. More like I got more of a thematic tie and like a continuation of the Marvel universe going forward in Moon Knight, where I got more of like a, this is going to sell well. I'm not saying in a negative way. It's like, hey, this is something that definitely will please people, but at the same time, it's going to be more like more of the same versus some kind of new, different, and thematically a continuation, like stuff we've seen hinted at in other Marvel movies that we could explore and kind of go into new territory, unexplored territory. So I guess at the end of the day, well, it's almost neck and neck. I'm going with Gulliver. Tiki, you there?
Yeah.
Did you hear the rolling?
Yeah.
All right, we're all good.
So you're changing your verdict then?
No, my verdict was the same. It was
he just gives very long-winded verdicts, Gulliver. You just have to get used to it. He was saying that at one point I was ahead, but then you pulled ahead at the last minute.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so congratulations. Point 1 goes to Gulliver. Round 2.
Oh boy, this is the big one.
Round 2. Which Marvel Marquee Avenger will die in Infinity War?
None of them, please. Russos, please.
Okay. So again, folks, Marvel Marquee means one of our main franchise characters, like a marquee name, like your main event out of the core 6. Let's just say I'm not talking Hawkeye.
God.
That's what I mean. Like your guys who have been given movies, given franchises, and just that's kind of what we're looking at here. And yes.
They brought back Natalie Portman to kill her off.
And yes, for the record, yes, the Hulk.
That'll be so dumb. Oh.
Just doing like a whole romance thing of like, hey, I know we broke up. I want to rekindle our romance. Oh, Jane, I care about you. And
it takes up like 45 minutes of screen time.
If Natalie Portman agreed to do that role, I would be more shocked than that actually happening. She's pretty picky with her roles, and she was pissed as hell after Patty Jenkins left Thor 2.
Oh god.
Really?
So yeah, that would be wild if that happened, but I don't think that's anywhere near a remote possibility.
All right. So this for the record, folks. Yes, as you can see visually here, I won't say who has what, but the Hulk does count, even though the Incredible Hulk was still a film. I'm not saying it connects to the other things, but Hulk is definitely a franchise carrier. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We're kind of looking at the big four of the Avengers. That's kind of what's on the docket for who could be a Marvel marquee Avenger. So who has what? Who thinks this character is going to die? Infinity War. Jacob, what do you got?
I chose Cap. I went back and forth on this a lot, but I think I'm going to settle on Cap.
I'm going back and forth on it myself too. I sympathize.
All right, and I've got kind of an out of left field pick, the Incredible Hulk, and also Dragon. I'm just going to kind of lay some groundwork for this fight. First of all, folks, should go without saying, but there's spoilers for Infinity War out there. None of us three know any of them. I mean, at least I hope that's the case. I trust that's the case with all of you.
I'm having a tough time hearing you, Tiki. Dragon, can you?
Well, Jacob, say hi to the folks. Let me hear how you sound.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, what about me?
I can hear you too. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting a fuzzy from you again here.
Oh boy.
Tell you what, why don't Tiki and I'll do a plug for something. Gulliver, you think you can come back in and come back out? Yeah, we'll reverse it. You can go out and come back in.
Yeah, I can try hopping in and hopping out and hopping back in if you want.
Yeah, let's just try that once. Meanwhile, Tiki, tell them about Just Google It.
All right, folks, we'll go to the Just Giggle It YouTube channel where they have weekly live streams, they have parodies, and most importantly, they have Harley Quinn and the Joker versus the Real World, which is one of our favorite fan film series that we've ever seen on the interwebs, folks. It's one of the best original interpretations of the Joker and Harley Quinn in a parody setting.
How we doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, how about me?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us? I mean,
I can hear Dragon.
Okay, what about me?
It's still a little fuzzy, but I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yes. Oh, yeah. Funny thing. So I'll say this though. I'm gonna be just the only thing in regards to like that. It's not a spoiler, but I'm gonna say this without saying anything. Again, I know nothing about Infinity War going to it more. I know nothing along with you guys about I'm unaware of anyone who dies or anything. But I will say this: how it should have ended. They did a video recently that they basically laid out like all the possible theories about who's going to die. So they had like all theories, and I'm going to tell you one of the theories I'm really sold on, and I tell you I'm going to be astounded if it happens, because again it's quite a brilliant theory. But so I recommend people not check that out until after the movie, see just how mind blowing they got, assuming this big prediction of theirs happens, because it's quite brilliant. But again, it'd be like a major spoiler for them to put into like a little video to get everyone hyped for Infinity War. So that's watch it with caution, folks, if you want to. That's all I'll say.
All right.
Anyway.
I also want to put in a disclaimer with this fight that both Jacob and I are aware of kind of like interviews and stuff that points to our characters being in future movies. So, like let's just take interviews and press and all that stuff out of the equation. We're just going to go in with basically just the we're basically just going to go in with what we know from the trailers and what we're speculating on our own. And basically what we're saying is like, just no press, like press is not involved in this debate.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just look at it this way. I mean, for the way they've covered themselves on like trying to see like any leaks on this is that, they essentially all the casting is that everyone who's in Infinity War is credited for Avengers Force. So by that proxy, it's like that's them. It's like everyone on contracts and everything that they're all slated for 2 Avenger films. Whether they're going to be used in the sequel, it's unknown. So the point is that anything you could look up would probably tell you the same. That hey, it's everyone. We don't know at all who's going to die. So
anyway. All right, opening statement.
Are we flipping the coin again, or
no coin yet? Just you go.
I get to go first again. Okay,
yeah.
You're saddled with it, buddy. The coin is spoken.
Yeah. My opening statement is that I think it would be the saddest to kill Cap. I think it would have the most emotional impact on the audience to do it, and there's a twisted little Joss Whedon inside of me that thinks that's the reason they're going to do it. It's Cap's story has been told at this point in a lot of ways. We've gotten him in the 50s, we've gotten him fighting Hydra, we've gotten him coming back to the present, discovering Hydra is still a problem. We've gotten the Winter Soldier, one of his most iconic arcs. The remaining iconic arc of Cap is his death, and I think that's probably, logistically speaking, purely aside from anything else, logistically speaking, why he's most likely to die. And that sucks. I don't want to say that, but I think that would make sense. We get a lot of, Chris Evans looking very haunted and feeling very defeated in the trailers that we've seen so far. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the direction they go. Give him a glory moment where he goes out saving everybody. I think, part of the spirit of the question was pick a marquee Avenger. I think there's a ton of characters who are more likely to die, given how much they impact in comparison. But I think the strongest emotional impact of all the characters we've got is going to be Cap. And I think it's going to hurt the most if they do it.
Okay.
All right. Cap might be the most sad death for sure, but Hulk would definitely be the most shocking. You don't kill the Hulk. And that's exactly my argument that I'm using here. If you want to display Thanos' power, God damn it, killing the Hulk would, what better display of power? What better way to say, this villain ain't messing around, folks? No, the Hulk is dead. Bruce Banner is dead. This is it. And I also think that much like Cap, I feel like we're kind of running low on things we can do with the Hulk in the MCU. Because I feel like with Ragnarok, we almost kind of reached this threshold where are we going to basically the Hulk? The problem is, are we going to kind of keep going back and forth of, like, oh, is he just going to keep transforming? Like, every time he transforms, is this going to be the time that he doesn't change back? And I already kind of feel cheated out with Infinity War, because we did the whole thing where in Ragnarok, he made that big sacrifice to turn himself into the Hulk. And then that's instantly, like we see in the trailers, like, no, Peace Banner again. And I almost kind of feel like we're just going to kind of keep running in that same loop with the Hulk. And sure, the Hulk can show up in everyone's side story and be a great addition to anyone's movie. I'm not denying that. But what you can't deny is that you got, the Hulk being killed off. The Hulk would represent the true, my God, you like, Thanos is a god now. You can't touch him. Like, what the hell are we gonna do? He just made God bleed. That's my argument. I definitely think that Hulk, the two things is that you kind of run the risk of him running around in circles. I don't think he's strong enough for his own franchise. I don't think we're gonna see more Hulk movies in the future. I think the best we can do is Ragnarok style side character missions. And I just feel like the ultimate blow would be to kind of have that display of power with Thanos, just boom, dead.
Hashtag Hulk Ant-Man for the win.
Yeah, that would be a pretty fun ride. I think if I were working on a Hulk movie, what I would do is I would go kind of the route that they went with Iron Man 3, where it would not be a movie about Hulk, it would be a movie about Bruce. Because we haven't really gotten a whole lot of Bruce in the movies. I mean, we get a little bit of him in the Avengers films, and we get a very small amount of him in Thor Ragnarok. But we've got lots of Hulk in all of those movies. I would like more time with Bruce, and I think there's still stories to tell. With Cap, you don't really have that luxury because regardless of whether he's wearing the suit or not, he's Cap through and through. From beginning to end of conversation, it's the same guy. And I think
with Cap, I have two arguments with Cap. I have one. I actually have three arguments with Cap. It wouldn't be shocking. It would be sad, but it wouldn't be shocking. The shock factor wouldn't be there. We're all kind of like bracing ourselves for Cap to die. That would be the obvious thing. It's kind of like the more high scale, like the big high stakes version of the gag where, oh, everyone thinks Hawkeye is going to die in Age of Ultron. I kind of feel like we're being set up like that. I feel like Cap he doesn't have much story left, but I feel like he's got another movie left. I feel like the end of his arc is going to be in Avengers 4. Because I feel like Avengers 4 is going to be the true passing of the torch movie between the new age and the old age. This movie is kind of the culmination, and Avengers 4 is going to be passing the torch. You can't pass the torch without Cap. And I guess that's all I got. Go ahead.
To respond to that, I would say maybe the death of Cap is the catalyst for passing the torch. I think that moment would be a really strong moment where the other Avengers could look and say, We've done what we can. We need other people.
Yeah, but I mean, I also feel like, like with Hulk, like I said, you have that illusion, like he can't be touched. And Hulk, if you think about it in the MCU, he has a lot of connections, a lot of emotional connections to a lot of the characters. We've got the relationship with Black Widow. We've got the bromance with Tony Stark. He had the bromance with Thor recently. So his death would resonate with a lot of people and have the shocking factor of, Cap he's a supersized man, but he's just a man. Hulk is Hulk, and especially to see Hulk torn down in battle, that would just, I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself here, but I can't emphasize enough. We're kind of bracing for Cap to die. No one would see Hulk's death coming.
I mean, I don't necessarily know about that because, Cap is kind of like a symbol in a lot of ways, and I think to your point, I think that there are plenty of people who would vote against Cap dying, who would say no, this is unlikely that Cap will die. So I think there is some surprising elements there. It would be a shock, as I would say.
People were expecting Cap to die as soon as Civil War.
Well, sure, but So your argument is Cap should have died in the last movie?
No, my argument is the conversation about Cap dying has been in the fan zeitgeist for a long time. That's my argument.
Sure. But then saying it's logical or likely that they would choose someone else instead, that doesn't make sense with the same line of logic. You're pitching both sides here, which is why I'm really confused about that specific point. I think Hulk dying would be a surprise, but I don't think it would have the emotional weight that Cap would have as a death. And I think what we're talking about are two different things in the sense of emotional likelihood versus logistical likelihood, and who's to say? It's tough to say exactly what that's going to end up being, but.
And
I'll
again,
my points for Cap.
I keep going back to the whole. There's also the rights issue with Hulk. Does Disney like Hulk's the one character where it's like, Universal's got the rights to him, and technically there's the Hulk coaster at Universal Studios. Like that's a whole legal mess in its own right. Like, do we really want to continue with that down the line, or is it better to just kind of cut ties with him now? Because I feel like Cap is one of those characters where. As memorable as Cap is, as memorable as Hulk is, I feel like Cap would be the character where if you take him off of store shelves, no, like that's not okay. Like, I see so many kids when I make my trips to Disneyland in Cap, with those Captain America backpacks and Captain America shirts. Like, if you kill off Cap, you're killing off a whole symbol, and that to me is almost a little too hopeless for the movie. But with Hulk, you're killing. Oh, okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we can talk about legacy there because yes, when Cap dies, there will be a very strong moment of sadness, but there'll also be a moment of joy because at that point, either Bucky or Falcon picks up the shield and becomes the next Cap, and has their own arcs and their own interesting things to happen. With Hulk. Granted, there have been other Hulks, but I don't think any of them are as compelling Hulks as Bruce Banner versus, how compelling Bucky or how compelling Falcon was as Captain America. I think that there's a significant amount of story to tell there, and, I think that seems like a logical step as a choice if you're going to the logic point that you were looking at before.
All right.
I got my ass kicked.
Okay, put it simply, here's what I'm coming down on. Tiki, I think you opened really strong with the shock factor. You're really starting to win me over with the shock factor of it all and the whole how you display the power of Thanos. And, we do, but here are two things that I think killed Tiki this round. Two things. One, he kind of made his own point he kind of made a point against himself with the fact that, hey, he'd be great for team-ups in the future with other Marvel characters. I mean, that was definitely kind of something, but I really think Jacob just kind of really he turned, and basically Jacob. The reason Jacob has won this round, the reason Jacob gets the points because he made the point I was really hoping he would make to save himself here, where Tiki made the point that you can't take Cap off the shelves, and basically he gave him the ultimate opening to kind of strike the knockout punch here, where of course you got Bucky and you got Falcon. The shield will still go on if Cap's gone, and again, Tiki made that Civil War point. So again, that didn't help.
We get to see Sebastian Stan in the Alex Ross Captain America costume.
Yeah,
I will forget Chris Evans ever existed.
Okay, let's not go that far. But I like your spunk though. I'm eager for both. It's a question of out of these two personally. Again, I want to make it clear it's not a well kept secret. I'm a huge Captain America fan, so obviously I do have a stake in it. But I'm just looking at the arguments here, folks. I want to make that clear. All right, objectivity, Stephen, not subjectivity.
Sure.
Anyway. But seriously, Tiki, again, I think you opened good. I just think he kind of ran out of steam on the Hulk, and then he just he was kind of at Gulliver's mercy. I just feel that's kind of what happened.
No, you're not wrong. That round kind of killed my self-confidence a little bit.
All right.
I feel like we were neck and neck on the first one, but I feel
you were. I mean, it could have gone either way on that first one. I got to be honest.
I was honestly expecting you to win the first one.
All right. Okay, ready for round 3?
No, but I'll do it anyways.
Sure, let's do it.
Who is the best?
Go ahead.
Who is the best Marvel Netflix villain?
My choice was Cottonmouth.
Nice.
I took the Purple Man.
Nice as well. We got two very strong villains. Of course, you both have the wrong answer. The correct answer is Wilson Fisk, but I'm kidding. Anyway,
Jacob, would you like to tell Dragon your thoughts on Wilson Fisk?
I feel like, and maybe it hurts my chances here, but I feel like Wilson Fisk is kind of a one-trick pony. He throws money and rage at the problem until it goes away, but a lot of the time that doesn't work. So I don't see him as compelling as some of the other characters. He's very fun. There's some really cool Kingpin moments, but I think, aside from like the dialogue and the scenes being written, you can kind of predict where things are going to go with Kingpin, but you have a lot more nuance with some of the other characters. Is that fair to say?
That's a fair point. I disagree with it, but I respect the point all the same. Okay, let's dive right into it then. Jacob, Cottonmouth, why?
Well, first off, let me set some parameters here because it was posed as the best. Best is super subjective. So I'm making the case for Cottonmouth is the best because I see him as the most compelling of the Netflix villains. He has an incredibly detailed backstory that we get to see a lot of. We get to see that directly impact his life in the show. We get to see all the places where his life was pushed and damaged that made him go exactly the way that he did. We see remorse in him. We see guilt in him. And we see that desire for more and power win against that guilt. The performance by Mahershala Ali is just incredible. There are scenes where he says almost nothing and you learn volumes about him from just the expressions on his face. I think he's a character that they deal luck to him in really interesting ways in the show. Of course, in a show like this, the villain at the beginning of the show is going to be dealt a nasty hand by the hero. That's kind of the arc in all of them. And they're going to get pushed to their limit. They're going to get pushed hard. I think the way that Cottonmouth handles it and how different scenarios impact him are just way more interesting than some of the other folks that are out there. He's still very human. He's not like a caricature. And he has his own particular way of dealing with things that I found to be really, really fascinating.
All right. Tiki, Kilgrave.
Yeah, I just feel like Kilgrave is by far the most theatrical, the most entertaining, and the most scary of all the Netflix villains. And that's a deadly combination. That's a triple force right there. Like, Kilgrave can put a smile on your face, can make you laugh hysterically, but then in the same breath be like, oh geez, oh God, I need to take a shower. Oh God, that's horrifying. I just feel like Kilgrave, I'll give Jacob, I'll admit right now, Kilgrave he's not as nuanced as nuanced. I'm sorry. It's grammar as Cottonmouth. But I think what he lacks in, basically he's just kind of like the creepy stalker boy next door who wants to get with Jessica. He's kind of like the lovesick guy who's just kind of going over the top to get what he wants. But the dangerous thing with Kilgrave is that he's such a scary social commentary on just male dominance in general, and that can play I just feel like it's so impressive to me that David Tennant gives a performance where he's such a charming and likable guy, but at the same time he's doing these horrific things. And visually speaking, I feel like Kilgrave is it's not even close. He's far and away the most compelling villain, what with the purple motif that he has going on, and also with the situations that he gets himself into. All the standoff at the cop station where everyone has a gun to their head. All the different scenarios, the 1,000 cuts thing, all the different scenarios and stuff that you put in place with Kilgrave is just, it's a roller coaster ride with him. And unfortunately, I feel like, well, I'm not going to let this argument be kind of like the main crux of my argument. I do feel like Cottonmouth is a little bit cut short in his own series, whereas Kilgrave gets 13 episodes to just run loose, be the main star of the show, chew the scenery. Kilgrave absolutely makes season 1 of Jessica Jones. He's fantastic.
I think I 100% agree with your point about, that he represents male dominance in society and like the entitlement that, a lot of people feel, well, women should behave this way and do this thing for me is despicable. It's garbage. And this character represents that. Very, very important to portray in more media. That is absolutely 100% on board with you. The problem that I have with Kilgrave is that his power is fucking broken. I mean, it's to the level where like you have it's like putting a character with no powers against somebody like Superman. The power is so powerful, it's so invasive and so dangerous that
that's the point. The point is it's supposed to be invasive.
I'm sorry, so Jake, can you clarify what you mean by broken exactly?
So what I mean is that it's to the level where it's so invasive and so powerful that the character itself, you just feel like, oh, okay, well, the writer can write themselves out of any scenario they put. No matter how good the character does, they can find a very easy route to make this character win. What makes comics and what makes things compelling as forms of drama is that there is this element of back and forth. There's this element of surprise. There's this element of having a character outwits or outmatch a character, and I think they really don't do that as much with Kilgrave. There are some moments that manage that, but I think the vast majority of the time the villain just has the upper hand, and it's just okay. Well, we'll wait until the next episode when the writer doesn't find a good excuse for Kilgrave to be really powerful. And then, that continues on with the story. But it seems like the power is broken enough that the scenario just shouldn't arise naturally. Does that make sense?
I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but I strongly disagree with it because to me, I feel like him being overpowered is a huge part of the show, and it's not overpowered for the sake of being overpowered. It's overpowered as a commentary for how helpless Jessica feels in the situation and just how much of a struggle and an uphill battle it is for her to overcome it. I feel like that's a pivotal part of what drives the whole narrative of the show, honestly. And I guess to your point about let's see. I'm sorry. To your point about, with Kilgrave not being as I don't know. I just feel like, darn it, I had a good point and then I lost it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Take your time.
No, it's all good. No, I just feel like I feel with the writers right now, with the I feel like in Jessica Jones, you have to go back and watch that. I know you're not the biggest Jessica Jones fan, Jacob, but really go back and watch season 1 again, because there is a big back and forth dynamic with Jessica. But the thing is, she's not as capable, but that's kind of the whole point. She's kind of working against the odds the whole time. It's like an uphill battle. But there does come a point, probably the strongest stuff in Jessica Jones season 1 is when she does manage to get Kilgrave. She does manage to get the upper hand on him. She gets him in the box, and it does result in some of the strongest tension of the show. And we see that, sure, it's not as much of a back and forth as Luke Cage and Cottonmouth get through their 7 episodes together. But like I said, it's, like statistically, like the whole point of Kilgrave is he is this kind of like this uncatchable, like he represents more of an idea than he does a man, and that's what makes him scary. That's what makes him stand out. He's the most enigmatic of a lot of MCU villains, even most of the ones that we've had in the movies, let alone the Netflix stuff.
I think if Kilgrave had more of a weakness, or if it was something that, drained him more than it does, I think you would have a stronger point there. And I see where you're coming from. I get the the way you're describing it, and I see the value in the type of story that you're setting up. But I think his power is to a level where, at least it's portrayed in a way where it's to a level that there's just not a great excuse from a writing perspective of, oh, it's reasonable for this character to be able to stop this person at some point. And like, yes, there are some moments where that happens, but they didn't ring as true for me. Given the other scenes where he's clearly flexing his power.
Fair enough.
That's my argument against that.
All right. I guess kind of some arguments to take down Cottonmouth a little bit, because I will admit it is hard. It's a fantastic character, but like I said, outside of the whole issue of like he only really has 7 episodes to shine, he only has half a season. I feel like they almost do too good of a job of making him likable, where the thing with Kilgrave is he's scary as hell. And with Cottonmouth, I almost kind of feel like at certain points in that show, I'm almost like more rooting for Cottonmouth, which is not necessarily like, to me, that's a mark of good writing. But when I'm looking for a villain, I'm not just looking for complexity. I'm looking for someone that is easy to hate and easy to detest. And honestly, Cottonmouth is just, I honestly, I feel like I'm kind of digging myself into a hole here. This is a terrible argument.
Well, I mean, you see Cottonmouth throw the guy off the roof, and you see him kill the guy in the flashback.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing. I feel like a lot of the stuff that they do with Cottonmouth is the intimidating stuff. At least the stuff that's supposed to make him scary is honestly kind of recycled from Kilgrave. The whole idea of just throw money and rage at it. That is kind of like what Cottonmouth's MO is in a lot of ways. He's a lot more sophisticated than Kilgrave is, but at the end of the day, like you said, the throwing the guy, that's definitely an impulse move. It's Cottonmouth's version of the car door slam, except it's not as elaborate and it's not as memorable. I just feel like a lot of the Cottonmouth stuff is not necessarily, it doesn't make for the scariest villain. It doesn't make for the villain where it's like, oh man, like that guy was really I feel like it's a good back and forth philosophy between Cottonmouth and Luke Cage, whereas Jessica Jones there's just an utter hopelessness to the proceedings, and an utter just sense of dread. And every time Kilgrave shows his face, every time you see that purple, like Jessica Jones literally makes a color terrifying. That's how effective Kilgrave is all the way through.
To me, it's like Cottonmouth is, a finely honed rapier, whereas Kilgrave is like a giant fuck off hammer, and Cottonmouth is like a Shakespearean villain, Macbeth, or a Richard III. And
but this is comic books.
Purple Man is like the Aliens and Independence Day, where it's just like this huge thing from space.
No. Okay, hold on.
It's fucking powerful. It doesn't make any sense. And the writing solution for dealing with them is
crossing a line when you say that. No, you're resorting to Kilgrave being a Michael Bay villain. No, that's crossing a line. Kilgrave. What?
Roland Emmerich, sir.
Okay, yes, same. Roland Emmerich is arguably a worse director than Michael Bay, so you're not really saving yourself there. All right,
my favorite part of the argument.
I really like Kilgrave is just it's kind of like the unstoppable force and the immovable object. It's kind of like Cottonmouth has got layers and layers of complexity to him, but Kilgrave has his own layers of complexity, not necessarily as a person, but as an idea. And that's what makes Kilgrave so compelling. He's almost a Joker type figure, where it's less about the man, it's more about what he represents. It's more about the ideas that Kilgrave brings to the surface. It's bigger than himself. It's a talking point. It's something that we stay up at night and we think about.
Your idea that he has nuance and your idea that he's an idea and not a person are 100% contradictory to each other. I think he can be the idea, but then he gets to be the big hammer or the aliens, or he can be the man and he can have nuance, which he doesn't display.
I don't necessarily.
That's the core of my argument.
it's contradictory to have a really big idea of a character that also exhibits some form of because you see, the thing is, I think the nuance of Kilgrave, let me explain that, is the fact that at the end of the day, he's kind of just a spoiled child. And that is, you're right, Jacob. Actually, there is kind of a contradictory element there, but I feel that contradictory nature is intentional. It's very intentional thematic qualities of Kilgrave, where you have that you kind of have this childlike, like, I want this and I want it now, kind of like, I want the world, I want the whole world, but then you also have this this huge, like, Joker like symbol of male dominance. And those two ideas clash with each other, and that makes Kilgrave all the more terrifying. Whereas Cottonmouth's a really interesting gangster character who's well written. But Kilgrave, I feel like, just goes above and beyond when it comes to all the ideas and all the interesting just talking points that he brings to the table. Woo! Oh man.
All right, guys, this is a really good one. I tell you, this is a really good, good fight. I gotta tell you, so Tiki definitely stumbled during this. But the nuance tripped him up a little. However, I'm gonna say this: while I do think you came out of the gate very solid, and I think you both kind of maintain a pace about you, I'm gonna give the point. To Tiki. Here's why. Give him the point to Tiki, because as solid as Gulliver was, like, Gulliver wasn't sweating like one bead of sweat he made his opening, and he was like in the beginning stages of the fight. There, he eased into the fight. He was owning this fight for a while there, but where it comes down to it is, I mean, Tiki's hitting some beats I wanted to hit, with the Joker comparison, but even beyond that, I mean, he was really justifying his pick amidst the very logical, you do have kind of a storytelling 101 with Cottonmouth. He's compelling. We have backstory that we see the impact. I think, honestly, I'm sure Gulliver would have gotten there eventually, but I was kind of missing from Gulliver is I really wanted to dig deep into kind of what Cottonmouth reflects in Luke Cage and why, basically I wanted to see more of the intrigue in Cottonmouth. I felt Tiki kind of pulled the wool over his eyes, like kind of wrapping it up in the Kilgrave thing. I don't know if that was his gambit or not. But either way, I think you guys both made excellent points, both very compelling points for both very compelling villains. And again, I think Tiki had some other good points, like, or again, he is kind of Cottonmouth does have some recycled Kingpin qualities, and what I would have loved to hear is Gulliver kind of take that point and basically say, he's Harlem's version of the Kingpin or something along those lines. You basically kind of like take that and kind of build an argument off of something. But it's.
You wanted me to reference your argument more. Got it. Cool.
All right.
No. Well, come on, you guys both had excellent points. All right, that's what I'm saying.
I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. Tiki, I'd like to make a proposition that we trade the first point for the third point, because I think your case was stronger there, but I think my case was stronger here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Because I do kind of think I'm kind of in agreement with you, Jacob. I still don't understand why I didn't win that first fight, but this was a little more neck and neck.
Well, I feel a little undermined, but okay.
Yeah, you awarded the points, man. It's my point, right?
I know. It's like trading. It's like trading your Oscar.
If somebody did that, like if they traded their Oscar with somebody else, like that would be a viral firestorm immediately.
You know what's funny though? Believe it or not, I was wild to learn this. Oscars get stolen all the time. Did you know this?
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course.
It's like Guillermo del Toro's like, you know what, Jordan? I'm sorry, I'm not going to attempt to do Guillermo del Toro, but it's like,
Jordan, listen, I have my Oscar here. Just go hold it.
I just think you did such a good job with Get Out, and you brought such awareness to the social cause. You deserve it. It's like, and I'm proud of writing The Shape of Water. It's an original movie in its own right, but I really feel like you deserve the director spotlight. I'm gonna have other chances, but kid, this is your moment.
Jordan, I have 2 Oscars. I have one. That's enough for me. Here you go. Here's the other one. Have a nice day.
The funny thing is, Guillermo del Toro is totally the nicest guy in Hollywood, so he would be the one to do
I
that.
can't say enough things about Guillermo del Toro, so I don't want to dwell on that anymore because believe me, we'll just turn into a whole del Toro love fest here. Let's get to
what's everyone's top 10 Guillermo del Toro movies?
Well,
There's 10 of them. Let's rank them.
Yeah, it's to say like it's probably like exactly how many movies he did.
No, there's literally 10. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to the optional part of our proceedings this evening. Let's get to the coin. I'm going to ask in the established story here, Jacob, do you wish to use the coin? You don't have to. It's your call.
I mean,
you want to risk getting?
So I have 2 points, and Tiki has 1 point.
Yes.
So if I lose, I have 2 points, and if Tiki wins a coin flip, he would make it to 2 points.
No. If you lose, you would go down to 1 point.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the smart answer here would be no. So I think I'll do that.
Okay.
I think Tiki will choose yes then.
No, I'm going to be boring and go no too.
Okay.
Because I don't want to be down by 2 points in the speed round.
All right. So,
Dragon, do you want to flip a coin just so we can say we did a coin flip?
Yeah, honestly, I just want to see like what Tiki would have gotten had he flipped the coin.
All right.
What if here? So let's see what if Tiki was smart for making this decision. And oh well.
Too bad.
All right, so we got 3 speed round questions, and now Jacob, and for the folks at home, what we're doing here, we streamlined it a bit since last time. So basically, you there's a 30-second opening statement and then a 15-second rebuttal.
Wow, short window.
Yep. I know, right? Okay, basically, we establish who has what. Then just when you start speaking, it's 30 seconds on the clock. Then when you go to the other guy, and back and forth till 30 second, 15 second, boom. Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Who should lead the Avengers next? Basically, we take Cap and Iron Man out of the equation. Which Avenger should lead the team next? After those two guys, like either one of these 2 movies, these guys are going to be out of the equation somehow. And their contracts are one of these days are going to be both out of there. Who should lead the Avengers after the big 2?
Doctor Strange.
I was literally going to hold him up. Come on. You cannot choose Doctor Strange.
That's why they called a speed round, Jacob.
See, I didn't know that I was allowed to jump in at that point.
Okay, you know what, Jacob? I can't think of another one though. That's the problem.
What do you mean you can't think of another one?
I just think Doctor Strange would be the best pick. Agreed.
You know what? Let's protest. We agree. This is a very strong point. let's share this point. If Dragon wants, he can create a 4th question so that there's no tie.
Dragon, what do you think? Because I mean, by the rules of this thing, I did call it first.
I'm throwing the wrench into the gears.
Okay, hold on.
That's exactly what Doctor Strange would do.
Okay, let me ask this.
That's how you win.
I want to make sure of something here. Are you saying that, Jacob, are you offering a point so you could have Doctor Strange? Is that what you're saying, or?
I'm saying that we both agree on this.
He's saying let's go to another question.
Oh, okay, we'll go. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, fine. We'll go to another question.
I don't think there's going to be a debate here.
Yeah, because I really can't think of it. Because my other answer would be Black Panther, but I mean, he's the king of Wakanda. You know, it's like,
all right.
From a marketing perspective, you'd probably do Black Panther, but just logistically, from a character point of view, it'd be strange.
All right. Luckily, I came prepared, so I have extra questions to spare. So
good.
All right. Okay, this is Jacob. This is a quick draw question, which means when you hear the second, I'm going to give you 2 names here. Okay, after you've heard the second name, basically whoever says it first gets this character. All right, another quick draw. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. Who's the better character? The Collector or the Grandmaster?
The Grandmaster.
Oh, okay.
And Jacob got Grandmaster, which means Tiki has the Collector. Okay, 1 second here. Master.
I heard Jacob first. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he has the Grandmaster, which means he also has to go first.
Yeah. It was very quick though. We both kind of said it.
Yeah, you both
around the
said
same
them like almost
time.
simultaneously, but yeah, Gulliver, you got it in there.
All right.
Let me know when the timer begins.
Oh, whenever you.
Sorry, that should have been clarified. Whenever you.
Okay. The Grandmaster is inscrutable. The Grandmaster is hilarious. The Grandmaster is somebody who is completely wrapped up in his own ego, has some sort of power, but whenever it's threatened, he doesn't see it as a threat until it's too late, and then you have this fun element where he's like, "No, I'm still in power, clearly." That's the way he's portrayed in the movie, and I think that would be absolutely super fun to explore. Even in the shorts, the short that they did on the Blu-ray, fantastic, really interesting character.
The Grandmaster is Goldblum. He's Goldblum. I mean, that's all you get with the Grandmaster. It's just Goldblum being Goldblum. With the Collector, you have the idea that here's a guy who's creating a museum. He's like this historian in a way, but he's doing it by enslaving people. And with the Collector, there's two things that you can do. You can there's a ton of Easter eggs. There's so many routes, and also more importantly, the Collector is the one of these two guys who has his own theme park attraction.
The Collector is a vaguely racist accent and a neutral facial expression projected over what felt like maybe 2 minutes of the movie. I'm sure it's longer, but I just forgot about the character after the movie was done. Completely timid body language.
Ouch. Yeah, but I literally feel like with Grandmaster, he has no character outside of being Goldblum. With the Collector, he's just this this broad spectrum. Like, there's so many more ideas that you can do with him.
And none of those ideas were explored as the Collector in the movie so far. And Jeff Goldblum, he's still portrayed as this leader, as this powerful guy, and you see him interacting with the other.
Hold on, that's it, Jacob.
Right, it's only like a one go around. Like you both get 30 and then 15, so it's capped off for Tiki there.
Oh, okay, so I'm done?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Well, I think I'm going to have to go with... I mean, it was harsh, but I mean, Jacob really laid out his points there.
Yeah, after that, I was like, I can't really come back from that one.
I mean, he came strong.
Calls him like I sees him.
Okay, here's a good one.
Oh, also, just to establish the points here, I have 1. Jacob has 3 at this point.
Yes, which means Tiki has...
I need to get the next 2. Basically... If
next to tie it up and get to a break.
If Jacob wins this next one, that ends the fight.
Essentially, yes. Okay. Which? Let me double check here. You have the spare questions. Let me see which one. Let me ask you this: you guys want a really simple one, or do you want a cool one?
Let's go with cool.
All right, cool is.
I'm game for anything.
All right, which MCU character? I mean, the entire MCU, anything that's in that universe, Netflix, big screen, otherwise you name it. Which MCU character is the best role model?
That's really hard.
I mean, I feel like Captain America is the obvious answer, but I'm not. I kind of like...
A lot of good ones to pick from.
Can I have a minute to think about it, or is that not in the spirit of the thing?
No, it's just, you have like a minute to think of that, but again, who speaks first goes first, so...
So it could be anyone. Why are neither of us jumping on Cap? That's the question I have.
Well, the reason none of us are jumping on Cap is because he's still clung very awkwardly to Bucky when Bucky was doing terrible shit. I think, is the reason I'm not jumping on it. Like, he could have at least admitted that the other side had a point when Bucky was involved, which he didn't really do, particularly in Civil War.
I have reservations about that point, but I won't bog this down with the.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go kind of an unconventional direction and go Tony Stark.
Okay, Tiki's got Tony.
I'm also gonna go in unconventional direction, and I'm gonna choose Wong.
Oh,
Okay.
I like that. I like
Nice.
that. Okay.
Right, Wong, and I think they're teamed up in Infinity War for what we've seen in the trailer, so that's kind of interesting. All right. Just I want to say for the record, I'm surprised no one picked Luke Cage. I'm just really shocked.
Oh shit!
I don't know if that counts as MCU.
Yes, that's again Netflix and the big screen. The whole.
Well, the movies affect the shows, but the shows don't affect the movies. So
it's still ridiculous. They don't have the balls just to cross them over out.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, well.
Someone joked about Daredevil like tripping an Avenger in Infinity War with his cane.
That would be an amazing moment. That would be.
No, I kid you not. I did see that. Basically, cosplayers reenact that in photograph, and I think he tripped Spider-Man. It was either Spider-Man or Jessica Jones. He tripped with Spider-Man.
All right. Okay, so I went first. All right.
Yep.
So I feel like Tony Stark is the ultimate role model because, he's not the perfect, like, Boy Scout citizen like Captain America is, but that's what makes him a great role model. Tony Stark learns from the errors of his ways. We see that in Iron Man when he turns around his whole empire. We see that with Homecoming where where he's trying to be the role model to Peter Parker himself, and frankly, I think he makes a damn good one. I just love a guy who can admit his own faults. I feel like that's one of the most admirable traits you can have. Whenever you're ready, Jacob.
I was just waiting for the truck there.
Oh.
Okay. Wong is my choice because he is duty bound beyond everything else. He found a purpose. He found something that he is good at. He found a way to dedicate himself to that and continue on. In a movie like Doctor Strange, especially once we get into Infinity War, he's going to be a character who's, when other characters are debating over the quandaries of what to do here, what to do there, he's going to be like, this is what we do because this is what we're supposed to do. Let's go do it. And there wasn't a debate involved in that. But he still has a sense of humor. It's great. He's a real person.
This is going to sound harsh, but I feel like if you look up to someone like Wong, you lead the, it's a danger of kind of falling into a cult-like mentality of like, hey, I have this really interesting cause that I'm really passionate about. Maybe it's not such a good idea in some instances.
To counteract that point, Iron Man's flaws are just so flawed. His misogyny and his responses to things. I would say if you really want to contest Wong as a cult, I would say the cult of Tony Stark is significantly worse.
Nice.
All right, so both, again, congratulations, because you both had really good arguments. You both had really good points on these guys. Again, very unconventional choices. I think Luke Cage would be proud.
Luke Cage is a great choice, but I didn't think of him because he's Netflix. Yeah.
The thing is, I had this question. I really thought it was going to be like Luke versus Cap, and I was really looking forward to that.
No, it just picked. Oh, it should have been Peggy Carter. That would have been my choice.
Oh my God, yes.
Really good.
Peggy Carter versus Luke Cage. Like, there's a match for the ages. I tell you. Peggy Carter would kick Luke Cage's butt. No, I'm kidding. Let's see.
I could see her doing it.
Okay, let's see. I tell you, I'm really. I think Tiki had some really good foundation with Tony Stark, and he made a really good point with the cult mentality. So you know what? I'm gonna give it to Tiki, but again, I think Jacob did make an excellent point of looking where the flaws started as like a point of, you know what, maybe not the best role model.
Like I said, I think the thing that makes Tony Stark an admirable character is that he's someone who looks to change himself every step he can.
Honestly, I think
he does have a lot of growth over his movies, which is
that's what I'm saying. The growth kind of sold it for me. That's kind of where
sure.
All right.
I feel like Marvel does a good job in general, just as an aside here. They do a good job with making characters who aren't perfect. And I think that,
that's
being
what
able to see
made
that
it
and
so
having
hard
characters,
for us to be
having characters who acknowledge their flaws and, who, grow from them is what makes a compelling story. If, the character's journey is different at the beginning than at the end, we learn something about the character and we can empathize with them as they go on that journey. So it's really hard to find somebody who's like the perfect role model in that sense out of that big group.
All right. Okay, let me hit you with this one. All right. It's a simple one, guys, but still one that's very tied into Infinity War. Best out of the ones that we know, which is 5, best Infinity Stone.
I'm not. Damn it! I should have just jumped on it when I had the chance. Shit, I'm not really too well versed in the Infinity.
Basically, we had all but the Soul Stone, because the Soul Stone's just up in the air right now.
Okay, give me a rundown on them.
All right. Okay. Here's the. You want to hit it with them, or should I?
Time, mind.
Well,
power,
I mean, like, tell me how they're used in the movies.
So we have the Tesseract, which is mind.
Okay.
No, the Tesseract space.
The Tesseract is space. You're right.
Okay.
Vision is mind.
Okay.
The stone in his head is mind.
Reality's the ether from Thor: The Dark World.
Time is the Eye of Agamotto. And then
Power Stone
is the one of Guardians. Yeah. One the Collector has.
All right. Out of those options, I've got to go with space with the Tesseract.
Okay, going space.
Okay.
Hey, Jacob, whenever you're ready with the Time Stone.
The reason that I've chosen the Time Stone is because no matter what any of the other stones do, the Time Stone can rewind it. The Time Stone can stop it. The Time Stone can pause wherever it is and figure out a way out of it. And I think that is, granted, the other stones do awesome stuff, but that ability to go back or to change it is invaluable in comparing it to the other stones. That's all I got.
Sorry, Jacob. It's tradition for us to let the clock run down.
That's okay.
All right. Honestly, Jacob, you kind of made my argument for me. I feel like the Time Stone is way, way, way too overpowered. That's the big problem with it. I feel like whenever you get into time travel in general with any sort of storytelling, Harry Potter kind of being an infamous example, by the way, with Cursed Child, you run the risk of just mucking up stuff. And you're looking at the time, it's like, oh, what's the most powerful Infinity Stone? I'm looking at what's the best Infinity Stone in terms of the story. And I think the Tesseract has it.
To respond to that, the question was, which is the most powerful? And when you agreed it's the most powerful, you made my point for me. So the Time Stone is, yes, it may affect things in unexpected ways, but if we're talking about what's going to defeat any other Time Stone, or any other Infinity Stone, it's the Time Stone.
Well, you know what? I heard best Infinity Stone, so I'm making my argument based on most entertaining, most interesting, and I think that the Tesseract is a lot more iconic. It's the centerpiece of the Avengers, which is the most important MCU movie. So there you go.
Okay, this is interesting. So again, it was best Infinity Stone.
Aha!
Best.
Another subjective one.
Yes, a lot of subjectivity, Stephen. I don't know. We just love that line from Steven Universe. We keep on quoting it all over the place. Anyway, now, let's see. I kind of love the irony of this. That Tiki's using that overpowered barb from Gulliver earlier, and just kind of throwing it in his face. It's like a little spite that's within that argument. I mean, that, and again, he had a point with it. I mean, the Times, as cool as this, I got to tell you, honestly, out of all of them, I think, honestly, I think you guys picked the cream of the crop in terms of the Infinity Stones. I really do, because,
the Infinity Stones are honestly one of my least favorite elements of the MCU, if I'm being honest.
Oh.
To me, they're just like big MacGuffins.
Huh. All right. Anyway, So I think Tiki had a point story value, and I think he had some really good kind of arguments against the time stone. So it's tied up right now, folks. It's
okay. Final round. It's the final countdown.
All right. Okay, so this one, folks. Okay, this one's one that's reflective over this over the time we've spent in the MCU, getting to know all of our favorite characters and such. Best MCU casting, like who was best cast in a role?
Oh man, there's a lot of good ones. Oh,
Like a character and actor, like
it's got to be Robert Downey Jr. Got to go with the original.
Right. I think he's got good old RDJ.
Man, that's tough. That's really.
There's a lot of good ones, but
if there's anything Infinity War has proven, that we have a lot of characters built up over all these years.
I'm gonna go with Anthony Hopkins as Odin.
Okay, we go. Hopkins.
All right. Yeah, I feel like Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark is kind of like the poster child of perfect casting, because Robert Downey Jr., even well before the MCU, he lived the Tony Stark lifestyle. And more importantly, I feel like he embodies the ideals of Tony Stark, because Robert Downey Jr., as we already discussed with Tony Stark, he's the man who's kind of like, he's done some really shady things in the past, but he's on a consumptive redemption arc. And that's what makes him such a perfect fit.
So to respond to that, I would say that Anthony Hopkins as Odin lends an air of gravitas to the MCU that wasn't really there before that moment. He is on another caliber than some of these guys. Not to say they're bad actors, but the nuance in his performance, the fact that he's not like, the handsomest guy, but still has a little bit of that attractiveness to him. It brings a different level of reality to the side that's there. He has this kind of slight wry sense of humor, but still very classically trained guy.
I mean, look, I love Anthony Hopkins, but Odin is kind of like a nothing character that you could cast any eccentric, like, older actor in, and it'd be sort of the same thing. I just feel like Robert Downey Jr. has so much more weight in the universe. Jacob?
I'm thinking.
Okay. Just making sure.
I think you're right that Robert Downey Jr. has more weight in the universe, but the problem with that is that his influence is more negative than Anthony Hopkins is. And it's more of a projected, written to be a little silly sort of thing, whereas Anthony Hopkins is more genuine, and that's valuable.
Well, this is an interesting one, because again, I heard something that I think really could have like tipped it over to one side. I didn't quite hear that, so I'm kind of trying to sift through that. Okay, let's see. All right, again, both excellent choices, of course. Characters that really do kind of leap off the page and kind of become their counterparts. The history factor.
Honestly, if I'm being honest here, a good, like, it's not necessarily a movie casting, but I remember vividly the casting in the Netflix universe that I was just so happy about was John Barenthal as Punisher. I just thought that was just it fit like a glove.
Yeah. All right. Okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm just trying to think if I should count this one thing or not. You know what? I still needed to hear a little bit more from Odin. It's really close, but I'm gonna have to tip the scales to Downey Jr. on this, because I heard more. He's tied into the universe. You got the arc, you got the redemption thing in real life. Hopkins, I mean, at the same time, Hopkins, he brings the classical flair. Has the godly kind of an interesting godlike quality. Like, he's not your when you he has like the little twinges of humor and everything. But honestly, the reason I'm having trouble deciding, but I'm gonna rule on Tiki here is because Jacob had an excellent point about he did have more weight, but he brought some negativity. With the negativity, I presume, in the sense of Tony Stark, he's responsible for bad things that happened within the Marvel universe. That's what I presume he meant by that. And what I was kind of hoping to hear was, by the same token, Odin's also, as we learned through Ragnarok, Odin's behind a lot of bad stuff too. I can't really count that into the equation because that point wasn't made. It's kind of lingering though, but it's an even argument in a very, very different way. One's kind of ascending it past what we start off Iron Man with, and the rest is where Iron Man's kind of gone, how it reflects on the actor. So I think Danny Jr. is more in tune with like how it's right for Iron Man than what Hopkins kind of did for and how Hopkins kind of legitimized the Thor film. So I'm giving it to Tiki. So it's really close, guys. Again, excellent guys. I just want to give you major props. All three of these fights are well fought.
Yeah, this was a great fight. I honestly am kind of shocked that I came out ahead, like especially after the the who will die question. I was like, oh, I'm sunk. Just sign the check to Gulliver.
I'm gonna say this, you guys.
We get paid.
Well, we get paid in pennies, but we have to mail those pennies, so it's
It'd certainly be the first time that I would have been gotten paid to do an internet talk show. So I'm not expecting it.
Proud winner of 6 cents.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, but all seriously, guys,
this is probably the most comment on YouTube.
Seriously, this is probably the most neck and neck we've gotten on Disney debates in a while. I mean,
for sure.
This is fun.
All right, so guys, last thoughts on the eve of Infinity War. Just anything you want to say to the folks at home? How was your experience? How you guys feeling after this fight? You feeling ready to go to war?
Definitely.
Jacob, you are an honorary opponent, and I will admit that balancing the universe is not something that one often finds amusing, but this does put a smile on my face. And I hope they remember you, Jacob.
Yeah.
I hope they remember you.